which is fabulous. That means you get into the weekend, all the wonderful things that you have to do. Even more, right? Whatever Friday means to you, people are usually in a better mood.
Right.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Yeah. And we are very excited and blessed because we have Donya Ziraksari in the building with us. She is the president of Equal Human Rights Org, a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness on human rights violations in Houston and around the world. She is also a religious refugee from Tehran, Iran, and you relocated here to the United States in 2007. There's a whole lot more to you, but we want you to talk more about those things.
Welcome. Let me ask you this too. How do you pronounce Iran? Is it Iran or what's the way to pronounce it?
Happy Friday, everybody. It is pronounced Iran, that's right. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people say Iran.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't get offended either way, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm. But it's Iran.
But it is Iran.
Iran. Instead of I
yes.
in English would be E.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I wanted to ask you first about just being a refugee, and that experience is not one that many people know can. It depends. Can really understand what that is, and so you left your country of origin because of religion. Can you talk? Because I'm like very naive in this section of the world. What is the primary religion in Iran? What is yours?
The primary religion in Iran is Islam, and it's the Shia sect. Iran is the largest Shia. It has the largest population for Shia. Saudi has the largest population for Sunni, which is two different sects, right? They're the two major sects of Islam. I am a Baha'i. Baha'is are persecuted in Iran. Baha'i faith is only 190, 180 some years old. The very first time that the Baha'i faith was introduced to the world was 1844. So because it is a religion after Islam, Muslims, they believe that their religion is the end religion, and the Baha'i faith is not considered accepted religion, I would say. So Judaism, Christianity, and those major religions are accepted in Iran. But if you are a convert Christian, if you're a convert Jew, and what that means, bless you, and what that means is that if your parents were not Christian, if your parents were not Jewish, or Baha'i, and you became one of those religions, you are considered an apostate. And killing you, executing you is going to be without consequences. So since 1979's revolution that happened in Iran, and the regime, the Shah, from the fall of Shah, the late Shah, and Islamic Republic established itself as a new regime, the Baha'is have been killed, tortured, imprisoned. Their businesses have been set on fire. They are not. They do not have the right to higher education, nor do they have a right to establish their own business or have a job. Pretty much, they are encouraged directly and indirectly to leave Iran if they want to have a proper life.
Okay, so what are the tenets of Baha'i that Islam is so fiercely against? What would that be?
All right, we're getting into the details.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this is awesome because I've had these conversations for 17 years since I moved to US, and I love talking about it. In the Shia sect of Islam, there are 12 imams, 12 leaders. The last imam is considered to be hidden. One time he was hidden from the public eye. This is what it comes to in the religion writings for several years, and then he returned, and then he left, and he is the promised one that Christians, Jews, Muslims, Zoroastrians, and many other religions, major religions, are waiting for. So in the when they ask, for example, Jesus, when would you return? He referred them to the book of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, it says, it gives exact time, and based on some calculations, you figure out it's sometime between 1843 and 45.
Okay.
and the location is Elam. Elam is located in Iran.
All right.
So we say the promised one that all major religions are waiting for has returned. The Baha'i faith, that's what the Baha'i faith is. And there is a whole story behind it. And this is not even 200 years ago, so it's very well researchable. People can look into it. But regardless of religion, regardless of if the Baha'i faith is actually real or not, it is, it's the second most spread religion in the world.
Okay.
And there is a huge population in Iran and outside of Iran.
All right.
And not just in Iran, but other countries they are being killed, they are being tortured just because of their beliefs. So that is some sort of a discrimination, regardless if the Baha'is believe in, it's like flat earthers.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need to go kill them? We don't need to kill them. They believe in flat earth, like, that's their belief, whatever. But I just don't think belief, difference being beliefs should give anybody a right to discriminate to that extent.
I agree. So were you born into the faith, or your parents?
My father is Muslim, my
Okay.
mom is Baha'i,
All right.
and I actually studied the Baha'i faith for 4 years, and obviously Islam, because I was born and raised in Iran, so I was very much influenced by the Islam, and Islam is a beautiful religion, I studied it, and I realized that for this day and age, being a Baha'i is what I like to, that's the religion that I like to have
That's your
for
path.
myself. Yes,
Okay.
that's my path.
All right, great. And okay, so the persecution of would it be Baha'is or it's just Baha'i?
Baha'is.
Baha'is. So the persecution of Baha'is in Iran. So people are being killed, being pushed out, not able to. How did they react to your parents being together? Did they know that your mom was?
You're asking amazing questions. I love it because these are the raw questions that nobody asks, and I love answering them.
Yeah.
My mom and dad met, and this is all in my book, by the way, Tehran to Miami. And my mom and dad met in the 70s.
Okay.
So they got married a few years before the revolution, and before then, legally there was not a problem, but there was a time that they would not allow Baha'is attain a marriage certificate. Because they were like, if you want to legally get married, you have to have the Muslim ceremony.
Yeah.
And while Baha'is are Baha'i, they're like, we're not Muslim. So yes, there was some issues there in the religion, in the Islam. In Islam, if you're marrying somebody that is not Muslim, whether you're a woman or a man, they need to convert at the time of marriage ceremony.
Yeah.
If they do not convert to Islam, you can't get married. So we do struggle with a lot of that. A lot of the Baha'i kids that were born after the revolution, they were not able to attain a birth certificate for a very long time.
Wow, interesting. So so what would be the way somebody physically wouldn't know that you're Baha'i, because all women in Tehran, they're going to have to cover anyway, right?
That's right.
All right. Okay. All right.
So this is how they would know. They ask the question, and Baha'is do not lie. So when they ask me, what is your religion, on the form, because they ask religion when you're trying to apply for a job, apply for school, or anything major, even passport. They ask you your religion. So they asked for my religion when I went to apply for university. And I wrote other Baha'i. And when I studied a year trying to, have the entrance test, passed it, and I had the grade to go and study what I wanted to study, which was physics. There was a red, stamp in the middle of my document that said, you're rejected because of your religion.
Wow. So you had to go to school.
I did not. I had no hope at that point. You can't go to university and you can't have a job. They kind of tie you up. They're like, you kind of have to leave at some point.
And so it says you came here in 2007. So how old were you actually?
When I arrived here, I was 20, but I left Iran when I was 18, 19, because I lived in Turkey for a while as a religious refugee to attain a religious refugee visa. So I had to go through the vetting process and be, I guess, interviewed a few times by United Nations before I was given the thumbs up to come here as a religious refugee.
Wow. Okay. So you arrived here. Did you come? Were you just in Houston?
No, the first city that I arrived, well, the book is Tehran to Miami, but
Right.
I didn't stay in Miami. I just landed in Miami for a while. And first I lived in New Mexico for 7 years in Albuquerque, in the land of enchantment.
Yeah.
And then I moved for job. I moved to Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay.
And then I moved to Houston in 2018.
Wow. Okay. And you've been doing this type of work. So, talk some about, like, of course you know people that have also gone through this. What has it been like to be in that world? And when you got into Houston, how did you find like this community of? Is there just this world of like refugees? You know, what is that world like, or how did you come into that space here?
Something I love about the Baha'i faith, and I'm not trying to advertise for the religion, is it's a community, I would say. I look at it as a community of friends, regardless of, like I said, it's the second most spread religion in the world. So regardless of where I go, I will find Baha'is. So it's a very good start, right? It's like if you're a part of a church and then they have branches other places, you automatically have support when you go to a new place. So I love that about the Baha'i faith. So when I moved from place to place, I just had to find the Baha'is. When it comes to refugee, I am highly involved with the refugees resettlement companies here, organizations here. I do help them, as well as I put events together to bring awareness to whether it's raising funds for them or getting more volunteers for them.
Okay, so so we know a couple of people that are Baha'i faith, just didn't know, like Billy,
Okay.
John.
All right.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Now I need to know
Yeah, and
who
I'm
they are.
telling you, and I said
yeah.
I was supposed, and I just hit one up, so I'm gonna link you up.
Of course,
Yeah, I'll put you
yes,
in contact with them.
yes.
Wow, that's so interesting. Okay, so and so you're talking about, and like I said, I'm very I need to be educated on this, but you created an organization called Equal Human Rights Org, and what is the work that what brought you into wanting to create this nonprofit?
So I have been told you need to have a nonprofit for years, and I was holding out because I always believe there's other nonprofits out there. Why do I need to create a brand new one? And I was, frankly, me and one of the co-founders, her name is Rosie Moshrefi, we were pretty much using our own life savings to put events together and raising awareness. And as I was saying before the show starts, we try to offer everything for free. Even vendors, anybody that wants a table, we do not want to charge them. We just want to empower people. So I've been giving the Iran 101 talk for a very long time at different universities, different events. I've traveled to different cities and states to educate people on Iran. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book that I did. And when the revolution happened, the recent revolution, the very first female-led revolution in a recorded history happened last September and the initiation of it was because Mahsa Amini, the girl that was wearing her hijab loosely, was killed by the Islamic Republic just because of her hijab. She was wearing a hijab, it was just, too loose. Well, in their opinion, it really wasn't too loose anyways, because we have pictures of what she was wearing. So they beat her, she went to a coma, she died. And, my book had just come out, so I canceled all my book tours. I canceled everything else that I had planned, and I just dedicated all of my time to the revolution, to be the voice of Iranians in Houston and in Texas in general. So I am this delegate spokesperson for the Iranian community, and that led me to other issues. Before that, I was highly involved with Salvation Army Back on My Feet program, and I was helping them a lot. But then I realized there's a lot of other issues in the city. For example, sex trafficking in this city is a huge deal. I started connecting with a lot of women, a lot of men, and I saw the need to fight against human rights violations in general. Not just for Iranians, not just for Baha'is, not just for any race or religion or just for us as human beings, right? So through this nonprofit, what we hope and aspire to do is to not just raise awareness. We want people to have some sort of an actionable thing to do. Every time they come to our event and leave, I want them to make connections. I want them to be empowered to do their own thing and have empathy. The least we can do is to have empathy for one another.
Right. Yes. So back to the revolution. So when this woman, they saw her. So how does this work? They see her, they figure she's out of dress code. Did they like sweep her away? Was this a public thing? How does this happen?
There are dedicated vans parked in highly crowded places in Iran, major cities, for example, Tehran, the capital. She is a Kurdish girl on a day trip from Kurdistan, the province of Kurdistan, with her brother for her birthday. She was just in Tehran for a few days, and I think it was the first day or two that she had gotten there. Again, she was wearing her hijab. It was just, in their eyes, indecent. So what they do is they park these vans, and they are morale police that tell you, hey, you're not wearing your hijab correctly. So what they did is they arrested her. They took her away from her brother. They beat her in the van. There are witnesses, and then when there are cameras footage that when she gets to the place to be rehabilitated, which is they school you on how to wear your hijab and blah blah blah, and they make a record that we arrested you for not having proper hijab. She passes out. They take her to the hospital. A couple of female reporters, which are still arrested from September 22nd until now, September 16 until now.
2022.
2022, yes. They went and took some pictures. There was a breathing tube down this girl's, her name is Masa Amini, down her mouth, and she was in a bad shape. After a couple of days, she passes away. And that just fires up a brand new revolution.
Was she Muslim?
What is it?
Was she Muslim?
Well, if you're born, like, I have a whole chapter in my book about this, that religion is not genetic. You have to choose. And one of the 12 principles of the Baha'i faith is that just because you were born in this religion doesn't mean you're a Baha'i or Muslim or Christian. You have to go and investigate the truth for yourself. So now, are all people who are born in Iran Muslim? Not really. It's not by default. You can't just take whatever, religion your parents had. You have to still go and use your own brain and do your own investigation and see what's good for you. Maybe you want to be a Buddhist. Maybe that works for you. Maybe that makes you a better human being. You don't have to just be what.
I understand. I also wanted to know though, was she Muslim, which would make this even like more like okay, because I know a lot of Muslim women. I know Muslim women that would wear their hijabs. I know Muslim women that don't wear their hijabs. I know Muslim women that I've seen out that you may see sometime that you wouldn't know were Muslim because they didn't have on a hijab.
That's right.
It doesn't make them not Muslim.
I would say absolutely you're correct. And I would say good 99% of Iranians that do not live inside of Iran do not wear their hijab. They don't. But I've had a lot of people call me names just because I'm from Iran and they automatically think I'm Muslim. And it's like, I am not. One of the reasons I'm here, I escaped that, right? So religious persecution continues to happen to Baha'is after migration as well. I do feel persecuted as a Baha'i here. I do feel like a minority even here. And even though I am a US citizen, as an Iranian, I still sometimes feel like I don't belong. And that's why when I feel that way, instead of saying, oh, people are being racist, people are being discriminatory, I say, you know what? No, I'm going to put an event together. I'm going to raise awareness. I'm going to I guess, encourage people to be more loving and caring. And a lot of that discrimination comes from lack of knowledge. But I can't blame people for not knowing things. All I can do is to try and educate them or offer educational material and just leave it up to them if they want to educate themselves or not.
So, all right, when you decided to come to America as a refugee, so what is the process coming to America? Because I know they're looking like, are you really Baha'i? Are you trying to come here to spy for Iran or Iran?
Wow.
So what was that like?
As a Baha'i, first of all, the vetting process has changed since 2006 and 7 that I went through it. But disclaimer, at the time, you could either move to, I believe, some European country. I'm not sure where it was. But then I know one of the other options was Canada, US, and Australia. Generally, going to Canada and Australia takes longer. Australia, almost 2 years of refugee life, right? By the way, United Nations does not pay you a dime, nor do they pay you for any of your insurance, your housing, nothing when you're a refugee in Turkey as a Baha'i. I just want everybody to know, when you come to also to US, they do not pay for anything. They just pay for your tickets. And I think that's ICMC or United Nations that pays for it, I forget. And you do have an option to pay it back, which I did. That helps other people to migrate as well. So you go there, you give your passport. So going to Turkey, you do not, as an Iranian, you don't need a visa. You can just go there. So for tourists, so you just leave Iran as a tourist, quote unquote, and then you go there, and then their United Nations office is in Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey. And then you go there, you give them your passport, you say, I'm Iranian, I want to become a refugee. And they say, why? You say, I'm a Baha'i, and so on. And then they assign you a city. You can say, hey, I like to be in this city because I have friends and family. And so, for example, I lived in Kayseri, which is 5 hours driving from Ankara. So we go there and we wait. We give them an address. We wait until it's our turn to go for an interview. The first interview, they get your information down. You have to present your case, right? That I'm a Baha'i, and they know Baha'is are not able to go to university, they can't have a legal job, blah, blah, blah. But how do they verify that you actually are a Baha'i? The Baha'i, they have to receive a letter that proves that you are a Baha'i. So I do have a Baha'i ID card after I left and migrated to US, but when you're in Iran, they can't really, you have to be a Baha'i undercover Baha'i, because if you just go around and advertise I'm a Baha'i, they just arrest you and kill you, right? Because we are highly considered unclean. So dogs in Islam are unclean, and pigs are unclean, and so are the Baha'is. So we're in the same category. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. Well, talk a little bit about the culture shock, because you go from a place that is extremely strict to the United States, where, I mean,
anything goes.
You know. Yeah.
So good thing I lived in Turkey for a while, so I got used to not wearing the hijab and so on. And I do talk about it in my book that the first time I went to Turkey and I didn't have to wear my hijab, it was awkward, and I was scared. Like, am I doing this correctly or not? And I remember for a while you look for your hijab before you leave the door, to leave your house, because you're still in that brain, mindset. But coming to US, not just not wearing your hijab and the culture that we have here, I would say I wasn't shocked the first couple of years. I was shocked that people called me a terrorist when I first moved here, even though it was 2007, and we lived in a very small city, Albuquerque. But I would say as I moved from New Mexico to Texas, I also got shocked as well, because I didn't feel included at all. I felt like people didn't even know where Iran was on a map. And I didn't go to high school here either, so I don't get a lot of the, like you were just talking about a meal at school, and I was like, what is that? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I have been made fun of a lot for not knowing certain things. And it's like, well, I wasn't born here, I don't know.
Yeah.
Culture shock, I would say I'm shocked how on the surface this country looks so beautiful and modern, and under the surface we have a lot of work to do, which I roll up my sleeve and say, let's do it together, because this is my country now, this is my city, and I care about Houston before anything.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you.
Of
And
course.
welcome. What are some of the collaborations you've been able to do once you got into that mindset?
Universities are very welcoming. So I made a short film called The Ticket, which talks about religious persecution of religious minorities in Iran. I do say the word Baha'i only once, but the rest of the time I say religious minorities because convert Christians and convert any other religion also go through the same thing. As a matter of fact, I have a family member that is a convert Christian, and they asked him, is your dad Baha'i or Christian or your mom? And he said none. And then they flagged him and they wanted to kill him as an apostate. So collaborations have been through movies, through books, through book readings, through speeches, with universities, with a lot of colleges. I would say they have international days. Initially they were asking me to have somebody come and do a dance performance, and I was like, one day I was like, can we do a presentation? They were like, you would? I was like, yes. I would love that. So collaborations with different religions and churches is being beautiful, with different nonprofits, especially in the last year, whether it's women, it's for racial discrimination, because I believe the Masa Amini's movement, which city of Houston actually named the day after her, September 16th, named after Masa Amini. That is a combination of a Black Lives Matter and Me Too movement, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it, because that revolution is not just it's for social justice, it's for human rights. It's not just for a piece of cloth to put over our head or not. It's not about that. People just do not want that regime. So I have been able to do a lot of collaboration with the city officials, with the Houston Police Department. They have our back and we have their back. And we've done beautiful collaborations with them. And we definitely appreciate all of our city officials and everyone that has helped us so much throughout the last year to be the voice of the voiceless.
What is your message, though? I know, like, when it comes to, we talk about it often, I'm of Mexican descent, the things that are happening in Mexico, and then the thing, just surviving as an American and watching the things that happen. And we talk about being able to love our countries of origin without loving what they're doing or what the government entities are doing. So at this point, you've relocated and everything. You went through something very serious and hard and oppressive, growing up. How do you feel about Iran? What do you want to see for the people? Is it more about the people that are able to escape? Is it about what happens there as a whole? What's your messaging?
Well, Iran has experienced a huge brain drain. When you look at the university faculty lists, especially in technology and in medicine, there's a lot of Iranians there. And great that we have those people. They are able to research, to contribute to society as a whole. But it is also very sad that they have to leave their family and friends. It's not just our country, it's also our family and friends. It's the fact that some days when I just want to feel cozy, I think about, and I get very emotional talking about it. I just imagine myself like walking in my neighborhood, my childhood neighborhood. So it's about that. And what I want for Iran is what I want for the city of Houston. I just want love and equality, and I don't, like I said, I don't even feel like, we're sitting in this room, there's 3 different races, and I don't even feel like we are all equal in this city. And that makes me sad, So my priority right now is city of Houston, because I'm not trying to solve a problem across the world. If there is anything I can do, I want to do it for here. But what I hope and desire for Iran is a country with a government that allows the world to come to the country, welcomes the visitors, and offers the rich culture, agriculture, poetry. Iran has so much to offer You know, looking at Turkey, the next door country, they have so much to offer, and they have their economy runs on tourism, and Iran could have the same thing. It could offer the same, and I know a lot of tourists that I met in Iran. They went from Denmark, Germany, you know, England, Australia, and when I met them in Persepolis, and they were like, "Oh, we got here 6 months ago, thinking we were just going to be here for 2 weeks, and we've stayed here for 6 months because we can't get enough of it." For example, one city called Isfahan in Iran is the seventh city in the world that has the most sites to visit. What that means is Isfahan has over 1,000 locations to visit as a tourist. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's so much culture. I don't want to say waiting to be discovered, but waiting to be visited. And we're just getting older and older, and we can't even go back to our own, you know, country of origin, or like there is no opportunity for others to go and explore. You know, I just mentioned one thing that might shock people. As an Iranian, I cannot adopt an Iranian kid because I'm not Muslim. That's crazy. I would love to be able to give back to Iran somehow. And we as Iranians can't, the world can't, and Iranians inside of Iran can't either. So I don't see any other way other than regime change for Iran, which we've been shouting for years and years. And hopefully Western countries can also support the people of Iran, not the Islamic Republic, which is the regime of Iran.
So are there any like outlander places in Iran where you can go and kind of be cool and nobody's really watching you?
As an American, or
no, as a Iranian.
yeah, I mean you can have your private places, you know, that it still can get raided. The second book that I'm writing actually is about an Iranian soldier that was captured for breakdancing, and then he was forced to go and serve in the war, Iran-Iraq war in the 80s.
For breakdancing?
For breakdancing.
Try to get me.
Yes.
I'm laughing over there.
Don't do it. Wow. Okay.
Wow. Okay. What is coming up next for you? I know you have some. What's happening?
Yeah. Well, I have. Well, before our website even went live, we scheduled an event for December 10th, which is Human Rights Day, and for the first time, I am hosting an event at the Baha'i Center on Fannin, downtown Houston. It's going to be a discourse. It's not just people giving a speech and people listening. It's going to be a dialogue between residents of Houston and people who are there. People who are on the panel are authors. Shout out to Angelica. And she used to be an FBI undercover. There is Daya, which is for domestic abuse, for South Asian women, as well as Middle Eastern, doesn't matter. There is going to be Avance. There's a lot of nonprofits that are going to be there. Our council member, Abby Kamen, is going to be there. We have a very awesome keynote speaker, Dr. Bayat, who has been fighting for human rights for years. So I invite everybody to come to the Human Rights Day. We have a proclamation from the city of Houston. It's on a Sunday, December 10th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Baha'i Faith of Houston downtown on Fannin Street. So hopefully people can come and meet each other, participate in the conversations, and enjoy some refreshments.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. You've been doing some great things here. I'm happy that you're here.
Yeah,
But
congratulations.
thank
happy
you.
that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And how can people get more? Reach out to you, find out more about your organization and yourself.
So we do have an Instagram, equalhumanrights.org, and they can also look us up on www.equalhumanrights.org. They can connect with me, again, Donya Ziraksari. You can find me online. I'm all over the news usually, fighting for human rights, and please join us. Participation is is key because we want to see different people participate and contribute to our events. So
Wonderful. Thank you for coming through.
thank you.
Please do come back and let us know what you're working on next time. And you're always invited back to All Real Radio. You guys make sure to go and follow. And if you're available on the 10th, go over to the Baha'i Center, which I didn't even know existed. See, we all are getting educated here. You're listening to Trey Brew here on All Real Radio. We'll be back.